to go destroy saloons. Can I also just, to the stage manager, I will talk indefinitely unless you guys start the timer that tells me when to stop talking. Can you start the timer? Really, I'll be here for hours. You guys will be like taking nap breaks. No, you don't want that because Sanjay Gupta is a way better speaker than me and he's a lunch, so you don't want that. All right, so God told Carrie Nation to go destroy bars, to go destroy saloons. So Carrie says God told her to leave the town where she lived in Medicine Lodge, Kansas, and go 20 miles away to Kiowa, Kansas, to go destroy saloons there. And so Carrie did what she says God told her to do. She stormed into the saloons, she used a big rock to smash all the bottles of liquor, and she just laid waste to these bar rooms. And now it turns out that Carrie Nation lustily enjoyed destroying property and terrifying people this way. It excited her. She enjoyed it. And she soon made a habit of it. She traveled all over Kansas first, and then all over the country, destroying bar rooms and smashing bottles of liquor. First she used a rock, and then ultimately she started using a giant axe. A hatchet, and she adopted the hatchet as her symbol, and she even started calling her saloon smashings hatchetations. She would sell, she had little tiny pewter versions of her hatchet made up as souvenirs, and she would sell them. I actually bought one on eBay a couple of weeks ago. And she would sell them as fundraising because she was fundraising for herself. Because she wanted to promote herself as sort of this is the era of the sideshow act, right? So she wanted to sort of promote herself as the sideshow act with a saloon smasher. But she also wanted to promote her cause. And her cause, of course, was not just violence for fun, but what they called temperance, outlawing drinking, prohibition. And the kind of most amazing thing about this story is that it worked. She didn't do it on her own, of course, but she was the reigning symbol of the Prohibition movement from when she started smashing saloons in Kansas in 1900, and she died in 1911. But by 1917, the temperance forces, and there was the Anti-Saloon League and the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and there was all these groups, but their combined forces by 1917, they amended the United States Constitution through both houses of Congress to ban booze. Less than a year and a half later, it was ratified by 2/3 of the states, and we got prohibition. It's incredibly, which I realize has some fans. I know you've seen the movies, it makes it look awesome. Prohibition was an incredibly stupid idea. Banning it nationwide was a disaster. Alcoholism actually went up. Literally, alcoholism went up. Dozens and then hundreds and then thousands of illegal drinking establishments opened up, right? Speakeasies and all the rest of them. And bootleggers ran the black market to end all black markets. Right? A whole new variety of organized criminal activity blossomed, and with the massive surge of profits flowing through that criminal underworld, we reached whole new levels of official corruption in this country, unmatched by anything other than New Jersey last year. And, with apologies to Governor Blagojevich. You guys watched The Apprentice, right? I so desperately want Blagojevich hair. But in the Depression, the criminal economy created by the Carrie Nations of the world convincing us to ban booze, the criminal economy was so big, it seriously competed with and crowded out the real economy. It was one of the things that politicians and economists had to cope with during the Depression, is that when they were thinking about ways to stimulate the economy, they were trying to figure out ways to stimulate the actual economy and not the Al Capone one. And we remember some cool things from that era, right? I mean, speakeasies are kind of hip again. Flapper dresses, pretty. Actually, every drink, if you've ever had a drink made with orange juice in it, you have Prohibition to thank for that, because people started putting orange juice in drinks because you needed something to mask the taste of that horrible liquor they were making in their bathrooms. So, there's some nice things about it. But basically, it was a huge drag. It was a huge public policy failure. To understand that this was how not just stupid, but actually sort of barbaric this time was in American public policy. Consider this the issue of industrial alcohol. Because there's alcohol for drinking, right? And that was illegal. But then there's alcohol for things like rubbing alcohol and solvents, industrial alcohol. People were so desperate to drink that they would sometimes drink rubbing alcohol or other industrial alcohols. Or people in the wildly profitable business of bootlegging would rip off or steal industrial alcohol somehow, and then they would redistill it to make it sort of drinkable. Now, the government decided this must be stopped. Their genius idea to stop it was to put poison in industrial alcohol. So the government would take industrial alcohol, they would add things like kerosene, gasoline, benzene, mercury salts, nicotine, ether, formaldehyde, chloroform, acetone. They would add poisons to something that they knew people wanted to drink. And then, people would actually still drink them. It's not like people were drinking rubbing alcohol because they thought it would be good for them, you know what I mean? But people would drink the poisoned stuff and they would die from drinking it. It is thought, Deborah Bloom just wrote about this at Slate.com, it's thought that as many as 10,000 people may have been killed by the government in this way during the Prohibition era. Simply to discourage something that people already knew was bad for them, but they wanted to do anyway. Prohibition was really stupid. Finally, after 13 long, stupid years, it was repealed in 1933, which is actually a great stimulus to the economy at the time. So we repealed it after 13 years, and then we promptly set about forgetting that we had ever really done this as a country. We think of Prohibition as lasting about as long as you need to make a couple of good Al Capone movies, but it was 13 years. And in order to get 13 years of stupidity put into place, a huge number of people in positions of authority had to be persuaded of the wisdom of this stupid idea. And it worked. You know, it got a huge majority of the Congress. When President Wilson vetoed the act that put Prohibition into effect, there were enough votes in Congress to override that veto with votes to spare. The state legislatures in 36 states went for this. I mean, and not just Carrie Nation's Kansas, but New York and New Jersey and California and Montana and Illinois and Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, they all voted for this thing. Prohibition was a remarkable achievement for such a bad idea pushed by such obnoxious means. Getting it done meant convincing government at every level to go along, and they all went along with it. And when we look back now at Prohibition as a bad idea, if we remember anything about it at all, we remember the dumb prohibitionist movement and people like Carrie Nation and her big axe. We don't remember the huge majority of Congress and the huge majority of state legislators who all went along with it. They all signed on to this bad idea. And they are the reason that I think this bit of American history is a great reminder. It's a great reminder that clout is no substitute for wisdom. That having a good job title is no substitute for actually being good at your job. Can I give you some more examples of people who have good job titles doing dumb stuff? This is my favorite thing in the world. This is what if you've never seen my TV show, this is what it's about. Look at that dumb thing. Look at that dumb thing. I am a big fan of the state of South Dakota. I have, anybody here from South Dakota? One person. I love it. I have spent a long time camping and traveling in South Dakota. I think it's beautiful. The state legislature